Chapter 1: The Bleak Horizon. In the heart of Crestwood, a town perpetually draped in the muted hues of grey skies and rolling hills, stood the Hammond farm, a modest yet resilient patch of land. The Hammond family, comprised of John and Mary, diligent farmers in their 40s, and their 2 children, Emily and Thomas, lived a life bound by the ebb and flow of the seasons. The sun, when it managed to pierce through the dense cloud cover, cast fleeting rays over the Hammond homestead. The family's worn farmhouse, surrounded by fields that seemed to stretch endlessly into the horizon, bore witness to years of hard work and shared dreams. The air was thick with the scent of fertile soil, a fragrance that clung to the fabric of the Hammond's simple but fulfilling existence. John, weathered by years under the sun, and Mary, hands calloused from tending to the crops, epitomized the resilience of the Crestwood community. Their days began with the dawn, marked by the rhythmic sounds of chores and the soft laughter of their children echoing across the fields. Life, though challenging, unfolded in a predictable cadence dictated by the demands of the land. Emily, the elder sibling at 18, possessed a spirit that defied the monotonous landscape of Crestwood. Her eyes, a shade of hazel that mirrored the fertile fields, sparkled with an unquenchable thirst for knowledge and adventure. Despite the constraints of their rural existence, Emily harbored dreams that stretched far beyond the familiar horizons of the family farm. Thomas, a 14-year-old on the cusp of adolescence, grappled with the duality of his desires. The allure of the outside world, glimpsed through dusty pages of borrowed books and tales spun by passing travelers, tugged at his imagination. Yet, the roots of his identity sank deep into the soil of Crestwood, a tether that bound him to the land his family had cultivated for generations. The town of Crestwood, like the Hammond family, was a microcosm of intertwined lives and shared destinies. Neighbors relied on one another, not only for sustenance but also for the emotional support required to weather the challenges that came with an agrarian existence. It was a place where the collective heartbeat of the community reverberated through the fields, a testament to the symbiotic relationship between the people and the land. However, beneath the facade of routine and camaraderie, there lingered a subtle tension. The clouds that hung low over Crestwood mirrored the uncertainties that cast shadows over the future. The horizon, though expansive, seemed to offer only a bleak promise, a reminder that life in this small town was tethered to the capricious whims of nature and fate. As the Hammond family commenced another day, the air was charged with the unspoken anticipation of change. Unbeknownst to them, the winds of transformation were beginning to stir, carrying with them the seeds of both hope and tragedy. The stage was set for a narrative that would unravel the intricate tapestry of their lives, weaving together threads of joy, sorrow, and the indomitable spirit that bound them to the unforgiving beauty of the Crestwood horizon.
Chapter 2: A Flicker of Hope. In the wake of the familiar routines that governed life in Crestwood, a subtle tremor of change stirred within the Hammond family. The heartbeat of the town echoed in the footsteps of Emily Hammond, the elder sibling whose dreams extended beyond the boundaries of their agrarian existence. As the sun cast its tentative rays across the horizon, Emily's eyes sparkled with an unbridled enthusiasm that ignited a flicker of hope not just within her, but within the entire community. Emily, at 18, was a beacon of inspiration in the town. Her dreams, like wildflowers pushing through the cracks in the asphalt, defied the constraints of Crestwood's rural landscape. She yearned for knowledge that extended beyond the pages of weathered books and stories whispered by the evening wind. The fields that surrounded her, once a playground for youthful exploration, now seemed to confine her aspirations. Her parents, John and Mary, observed Emily's burgeoning desires with a mix of pride and concern. John, with a sun-etched face that bore witness to years of toil, recognized the fire in his daughter's eyes. Mary, hands worn from nurturing both crops and family, saw in Emily a reflection of the dreams she might have harbored in her youth. Thomas, the 14-year-old brother caught in the midst of adolescence, watched Emily with a mix of admiration and uncertainty. The tantalizing tales of distant lands and opportunities beyond the horizon teased his imagination, yet the roots of his identity were deeply entwined with the soil of Crestwood. His internal struggle mirrored the delicate balance the family sought to maintain between tradition and the beckoning unknown. The winds of change, however, did not merely whisper in the Hammond household. Across Crestwood, the townsfolk began to murmur about a government initiative that promised opportunities for the town's youth. A chance to break free from the cyclical nature of generational farming and embrace a future that transcended the furrows of their fields. The news spread like wildfire, casting ripples of anticipation through the close-knit community. As families huddled around dinner tables, discussions centered on the possibilities that lay beyond the known horizon. The prospect of change, though greeted with cautious optimism, carried within it the potential to redefine the lives of those who had long called Crestwood home. Emily, fueled by her dreams and the whispers of opportunity, became a symbol of hope for Crestwood. Her unwavering spirit radiated a contagious energy that transcended the boundaries of her own family. The air crackled with the palpable tension between tradition and progress, as the townsfolk grappled with the idea that their children could reach for a horizon beyond the one they had always known. In Chapter 2, the Hammond family stood on the precipice of transformation, their lives entangled with the impending winds of change that promised both a release from the familiar and the daunting embrace of the unknown. The flicker of hope that ignited within Emily mirrored the collective yearning of a town teetering on the brink of a new era.
Chapter 3: The Whispers of Change. In the wake of Emily's ignited hope, Crestwood found itself caught in the delicate dance between tradition and the elusive promise of change. The town, nestled amidst rolling hills and fields that echoed with the footsteps of generations past, now vibrated with a palpable anticipation. The whispers of opportunity, carried by the wind that rustled through the leaves of the town's ancient trees, began to reshape the very fabric of community life. As news of the government initiative permeated the tight-knit streets of Crestwood, the once familiar conversations in the town square shifted. Gossamer threads of hope entwined themselves around each household, weaving a tapestry of expectations, dreams, and apprehensions. Families huddled together, discussing the prospect of a future beyond the rhythmic cycles of planting and harvest. Emily, the harbinger of change,
became both the symbol and catalyst for the transformation that loomed on the horizon. The fire in her hazel eyes now reflected the collective yearning of a community that had weathered the seasons together. Her parents, John and Mary, found themselves caught in the currents of uncertainty. The very land that had sustained them for years now seemed to beckon them toward uncharted territories. Thomas, still caught between the innocence of youth and the burgeoning awareness of adolescence, observed the shifting dynamics with a mix of curiosity and trepidation. The winds of change whispered secrets that stirred his imagination, yet the roots of his identity clung steadfastly to the familiar soil of Crestwood. The town meetings, once centered around the logistics of planting and communal concerns, now buzzed with the energy of collective possibility. The mayor, a figurehead of Crestwood's enduring legacy, addressed the community with a tempered optimism, acknowledging the potential for a brighter future while cautioning against the pitfalls of the unknown. Emily, fueled by her dreams and the growing chorus of those who dared to envision a life beyond Crestwood, took the initiative to explore the opportunities presented by the government program. She attended informational meetings, collected brochures that promised a world beyond the fields, and engaged in conversations with other youth who shared her restlessness. Yet, in the midst of this hopeful fervor, a subtle undercurrent of skepticism threaded through the town. Some, rooted deeply in the traditions that had defined Crestwood for generations, viewed the promises of change with a wary eye. The specter of the unknown cast shadows over the tightly woven tapestry of their lives, and not everyone was willing to unravel the threads that held their world together. Chapter 3, The Whispers of Change, encapsulated Crestwood at a crossroads. The town, once insulated by the comfort of routine, now faced the inevitability of transformation. The winds of change, though gentle in their whispers, carried within them the potential to reshape the lives of the Hammond family and the entire community. As the pages turned, Crestwood teetered on the precipice of a new era, its fate uncertain in the face of promises that beckoned from a horizon yet unexplored.
Chapter 4, A Bitter Harvest. As the seasons unfurled their familiar tapestry over Crestwood, the promise of change that once seemed like a distant whisper began to take tangible form. Emily, driven by her dreams and the allure of opportunities beyond the horizon, made the decision to embrace the unknown. She bid tearful farewells to the family farm, leaving behind the comforting embrace of the fields that had cradled her ambitions. Meanwhile, the Hammond homestead continued to stand as a bastion of resilience against the elements. John and Mary, now without the guiding light of their eldest daughter, navigated the challenges of the farm with a stoic determination. The weight of responsibility settled on their shoulders as they grappled not only with the demands of the land but also with the absence of Emily's spirited presence. The community, too, felt the tremors of change as whispers transformed into action. Families sent off their youth with a mixture of pride and trepidation, aware that the decisions made in pursuit of a brighter future would leave indelible imprints on Crestwood's legacy. However, as Emily ventured into the urban landscape promised by the government initiative, fate unveiled its capricious nature. A relentless storm, dark and unforgiving, swept through Crestwood, leaving devastation in its wake. The fields that had sustained generations of families were now reduced to a desolate expanse of mud and ruin. The Hammond farm, once a symbol of life and abundance, now stood as a testament to the fragility of dreams. The storm, with its unrelenting fury, had not only eroded the soil but had also torn through the fabric of hope that once held the community together. The whispers of change that had once carried the promise of a brighter future now seemed like a distant echo, drowned out by the bitter reality of a shattered present. As news of the disaster spread, Crestwood became a landscape of grief. The town square, once filled with the laughter and chatter of hopeful conversations, now echoed with the solemnity of shared sorrow. Neighbors, bound by years of camaraderie, stood side by side in the face of a bitter harvest that no one had anticipated. The Hammond family, grappling with the aftermath, found themselves at the epicenter of this collective tragedy. John and Mary surveyed the fields that had been their livelihood, now reduced to a sea of desolation. The absence of Emily, who had ventured into the unknown seeking prosperity, now mirrored the void left by the storm's merciless onslaught. Thomas, who had remained behind, experienced the bitter taste of regret. The decision to stay and tend to the family farm, while his sister sought a different path, weighed heavily on his young shoulders. The storm had not only taken the crops but had also sown seeds of doubt and remorse in the fertile soil of his conscience. Chapter 4: A Bitter Harvest, painted Crestwood in somber hues. The town, once poised at the cusp of change, now found itself ensnared in the clutches of tragedy. The Hammond family, like the rest of Crestwood, faced a landscape altered by forces beyond their control. In the aftermath of the storm, the once vibrant fields bore witness to the bitter irony that dreams, like crops, could be subject to the caprices of a merciless and unpredictable reality.
Chapter 5: The Distant Echoes of Home. In the aftermath of the devastating storm, Crestwood lay shrouded in a heavy silence, the air thick with the weight of loss and unfulfilled promise. The once thriving community, which had stood resilient against the challenges of rural life, now found itself grappling with a profound sense of emptiness. The Hammond family, especially, bore the scars of the tempest that had torn through their fields, leaving behind a desolate landscape that mirrored the grief in their hearts. As the townsfolk surveyed the wreckage of their homes and fields, the echoes of camaraderie that once defined Crestwood seemed distant and faint. Neighbors, who had shared in each other's joys and sorrows, now stood amid the ruins, each family left to confront its own private tragedy. The storm had not only claimed crops, but had also severed the threads that wove the fabric of Crestwood's communal spirit. For the Hammonds, the loss was twofold. The absence of Emily, who had ventured into the city seeking a brighter future, now loomed larger against the backdrop of devastation. John and Mary, resilient farmers accustomed to weathering the unpredictability of nature, found themselves in uncharted emotional territory. Their farmhouse, which had witnessed the laughter of children and the toil of generations, now stood as a weathered monument to the impermanence of dreams. The news of Emily's journey to the city reached Crestwood like a bittersweet breeze. While the town grappled with the aftermath of the storm, Emily, hundreds of miles away, navigated the challenges of urban life. The once vibrant girl, fueled by dreams of success, now confronted the harsh realities of a world indifferent to the aspirations of a small-town dreamer. The city, with its towering buildings and relentless pace, proved to be a formidable adversary. Emily, despite her resilience, found herself adrift in a sea of anonymity. The loneliness, more oppressive than the storm clouds that had darkened Crestwood's skies, clung to her like a shadow. In the midst of towering structures and bustling streets, she felt the distant echoes of home, a yearning for the simplicity and warmth of the fields she had left behind. Back in Crestwood, the community grappled not only with physical reconstruction but also with the arduous task of rebuilding shattered dreams. The town square, once a lively hub of shared aspirations, now bore witness to conversations tinged with a sense of resignation. The whispers of change that had once stirred excitement now seemed like distant echoes, carrying with them the poignant reminder of what had been lost. The Hammond family, separated by both distance and circumstance, faced parallel struggles. Emily, in the heart of the city, yearned for the familiar embrace of Crestwood, her dreams tarnished by the harsh realities of urban life. Meanwhile, John, Mary, and Thomas confronted the bleak landscape that their farm had become, each burdened by a silent grief that seemed to stretch across the vast expanse that now lay between them. Chapter 5, The Distant Echoes of Home, painted a poignant portrait of Crestwood in the aftermath of tragedy. The town, once a haven of shared dreams, now grappled with the harsh truth that home, like the fields left barren by the storm, could be a distant echo in the face of unforeseen adversity.
Chapter 6, A Sibling's Regret. In the wake of the storm's devastation and the distant echoes of home, Crestwood found itself entangled in a web of grief and regret. Within the Hammond family, the once unbroken bonds of unity now bore the weight of unspoken sorrows and missed opportunities. Chapter 6, A Sibling's Regret, delves into the complex emotions that gripped Thomas, the 14-year-old brother caught in the tumultuous aftermath of the storm. As the days unfolded, Thomas grappled with the realization that the decision to stay behind while Emily pursued opportunities in the city carried a heavy burden. Regret, like a shadow, loomed over him, casting a pall over the familiar landscapes of Crestwood. The very fields that once held the promise of generational continuity now seemed haunted by the specter of choices left unexplored. The storm, though unrelenting in its physical impact, was eclipsed by the storm within Thomas's heart. His older sister, Emily, had ventured into a world beyond Crestwood seeking prosperity and success. As the reality of the storm's aftermath settled, Thomas couldn't escape the gnawing question: could he have averted the tragedy that befell their farm, and by extension, their dreams? The town, too, felt the ripples of this internal tempest. The close-knit community that had always known the Hammonds as a pillar of strength now witnessed the quiet struggle within their household. Thomas, once a symbol of the next generation that would inherit the legacy of the land, now grappled with the weight of a future that seemed uncertain and marred by the past. Conversations in the town square took on a different tone. The communal bonds that had once defined Crestwood were strained, and a subtle undercurrent of collective guilt permeated the air. The Hammonds, though not the only family touched by tragedy, became a focal point for the town's shared lamentations. Within the Hammond household, unspoken tensions brewed. Thomas, fueled by a teenage sense of invincibility, felt the weight of responsibility settle on his young shoulders. His parents, John and Mary, weathered their own grief while silently acknowledging the unique burden their son carried. The family dynamic, once a harmonious melody of shared aspirations, now echoed with dissonance. As Thomas navigated the landscape of his emotions, he couldn't escape the haunting imagery of the storm's aftermath. The fields, once vibrant with life, now stood as a stark reminder of the consequences of decisions made and opportunities foregone. In his introspective moments, he wondered if Emily's departure had left an irreplaceable void, not just in their familial bond but also in the protective shield that Crestwood had long provided. In the solitude of his thoughts, Thomas grappled with the notion that perhaps the storm wasn't solely responsible for the tragedy that befell the Hammond farm. A sibling's regret, though intangible, cast a long shadow over the family's collective consciousness, leaving them to confront the harsh truth that choices made in the pursuit of individual dreams could ripple outward, affecting the very foundation of shared aspirations within the close-knit community of Crestwood.
Chapter 7: The Slow Erosion of Hope. In the aftermath of the storm and a sibling's regret, Crestwood stood at a crossroads, its spirit wounded, and its once unyielding hope now weathered by the harsh realities of the recent past. The Hammond family, especially young Thomas, found themselves caught in a somber tide, grappling not only with the physical aftermath of the storm but also with the slow erosion of the hope that had once defined their existence. As the days turned into weeks, the once vibrant community seemed to move at a funeral pace. The town square, once filled with lively exchanges and shared dreams, now echoed with a solemn quietness. The fields, ravaged by the storm, bore the scars of an irreparable loss, mirroring the emotional landscape of Crestwood's residents. Thomas, burdened by regret and haunted by the spectre of missed opportunities, became a symbol of the town's collective struggle. The weight of responsibility for the family farm, now more pronounced in Emily's absence, pressed upon his shoulders. Each step he took on the now barren land seemed to resonate with the echoes of what could have been. The slow erosion of hope unfolded in subtle ways. Conversations among townsfolk, once filled with optimism and shared plans, now carried an undertone of resignation. The mayor, who had once stood at the forefront of rallying the community, now addressed them with a weariness that mirrored the collective fatigue of Crestwood. John and Mary, the stalwart pillars of the Hammond family, found their own reservoirs of hope running dry. The dream of passing down a thriving farm to their children seemed increasingly elusive. The very soil that had sustained them for generations now crumbled beneath the weight of broken dreams, and the once unbroken circle of family and community fractured with each passing day. The distant echoes of Emily's departure lingered in the household, creating a void that time seemed reluctant to fill. The letters she sent home, filled with tales of urban challenges and the loneliness of city life, arrived like messages from another world. In those letters, hope flickered like a dying flame, struggling to illuminate the darkness that had settled over Crestwood. The town, once a tapestry woven with the threads of resilience and shared aspirations, now bore the marks of a slow erosion. The government initiative that had promised opportunities now seemed like a distant mirage, the shimmering hope it once held fading into the background. Families, having sent off their youth with dreams of a better future, found themselves grappling with the harsh reality that change, even when promised, was not always synonymous with improvement. As the slow erosion of hope continued, the Hammonds and their fellow townspeople faced a pivotal question: how does a community rebuild not only its physical structures but also the intangible foundation of hope that had sustained it through generations? The answer, shrouded in uncertainty, lingered in the air, a challenge that Crestwood could not escape as it confronted the arduous task of reconciling with the fallout of a storm that had reshaped not only its landscape but also its collective spirit.
Chapter 8: The Fragile Thread. In the wake of the slow erosion of hope, Crestwood found itself ensnared in the delicate dance between despair and the tentative pursuit of renewal. The town, once bound by a resilient spirit, now stood at the precipice of an uncertain future. Chapter 8, titled The Fragile Thread, weaves a narrative of the fragile interplay between the shattered dreams of the past and the uncertain aspirations that sought to mend the frayed fabric of Crestwood's existence. The town square, which had witnessed countless communal gatherings and shared dreams, became a nexus of collective reflection. Residents, their faces etched with the lines of worry and loss, convened to discuss the path forward. The mayor, once a beacon of hope, now navigated the delicate task of balancing realism with the need to inspire a beleaguered community. Within the Hammond household, the fragile thread that bound the family together threatened to unravel. John and Mary, weathered by the storm and the subsequent challenges, found themselves grappling not only with the physical toll but also with the emotional strain that threatened to drive wedges between them. The dream of passing down a thriving farm, once a source of shared pride, now seemed like an elusive mirage. Thomas, caught in the crucible of adolescence and burgeoning responsibility, felt the fragile thread of his identity stretched taut. The weight of the farm, once a symbol of continuity, now felt like an anchor dragging him into uncharted depths. The absence of Emily, who had ventured into the city seeking a better life, cast a long shadow over their familial bond. The town's youth, who had embarked on the government initiative with dreams of prosperity, now found themselves grappling with the harsh realities of an uncertain future. The fragile thread of optimism that had propelled them toward the unknown now seemed strained, tested by the unforeseen challenges that awaited them beyond Crestwood's borders. Despite the prevailing somber atmosphere, flickers of determination sparked in the hearts of Crestwood's residents. Small acts of kindness, shared burdens, and the collective resolve to rebuild the town became the fragile thread that, though frayed, held the promise of a new beginning. Neighbors, once divided by the specter of regret and loss, joined hands in a silent acknowledgement that the survival of Crestwood depended on their shared resilience. The letters from Emily, though tinted with the struggles of urban life, became a lifeline, a fragile thread connecting the Hammond family to a world beyond the confines of their decimated farm. In her words, there echoed both the challenges of the city and a yearning for the simplicity of Crestwood, a poignant reminder that the threads of connection could withstand the strain of distance.
As the town grappled with the fragility of its circumstances, a collective decision emerged to rebuild not just the physical structures but also the intangible bonds that had defined Crestwood for generations. Community initiatives, supported by the mayor and driven by the townspeople, sought to mend the fragile thread of hope that lingered in the air. Chapter 8 marked a turning point, a delicate balance between acknowledging the wounds of the past and weaving a tapestry of renewed hope for the future. The fragile thread that bound Crestwood together, though tested and worn, hinted at the resilience embedded in the town's collective spirit. As the pages turned, the story of Crestwood unfolded as a testament to the human capacity to rebuild, even when faced with the fragility of dreams and the uncertainties that lay beyond the horizon.
Chapter 9: A Heartrending Reunion. In the aftermath of the fragile thread that sought to mend Crestwood's wounds, the town began to stir with a quiet determination. As the people of Crestwood faced the monumental task of rebuilding, the threads of resilience and shared commitment wove a tentative tapestry of hope. Chapter 9: A Heartrending Reunion unfolds against this backdrop, focusing on the anticipated return of Emily to the town that had weathered the storms of both nature and fate. The town square, once a gathering place for shared aspirations, became a hub of activity. Residents, their hands calloused from the labor of reconstruction, exchanged glances filled with a mixture of exhaustion and determination. The mayor, a figure whose role had evolved from a harbinger of hope to a pragmatic leader, addressed the community with words that sought to instill a sense of purpose and unity. For the Hammonds, the prospect of Emily's return carried both joy and trepidation. John and Mary, who had weathered the storm and its aftermath, now awaited the reunion with a mix of longing and anxiety. Thomas, haunted by the regrets of the past, felt the fragile thread connecting the family stretched taut as he grappled with the complex emotions that awaited Emily's homecoming. The town's youth, who had ventured into the city seeking opportunities, returned with stories etched on their faces. The luster of the urban dreams had dulled in the face of realities beyond Crestwood, and their presence added new layers to the evolving narrative of the town's collective journey. As the day of Emily's return approached, the air in Crestwood was charged with a peculiar energy, a blend of anticipation and uncertainty. The townspeople, who had weathered the storm of change, now faced the prospect of a heartrending reunion that would lay bare the scars of the recent past. When Emily finally arrived, the reunion was a poignant spectacle that echoed through the town. The once vibrant girl, who had left in pursuit of dreams, returned with a weariness that mirrored the challenges she had faced. Her eyes, once filled with the spark of ambition, now carried the weight of lessons learned in the unforgiving landscape of the city. The Hammond family, gathered at the farmhouse that had weathered the storms of both nature and life, embraced Emily with a mix of tears and smiles. The reunion, heartrending in its complexity, marked a pivotal moment for the family and the town. Each embrace, every shared glance, spoke volumes about the resilience that tied the Hammonds to Crestwood. In the town square, the reunion resonated with the broader community. The threads of connection that had been frayed by tragedy now seemed to strengthen with each embrace. The fragile hope that had taken root in Crestwood's collective spirit found affirmation in the return of one of its own. As Emily shared her experiences and the challenges faced in the city, a new narrative unfolded, one that emphasized the importance of both roots and wings. The heartrending reunion, while a testament to the wounds borne by the Hammond family and the town, also heralded a renewed sense of purpose. Crestwood, it seemed, had not only weathered the storms but had emerged with a deeper understanding of the delicate dance between dreams and the grounding force of home. Chapter 9, A Heartrending Reunion, marked a turning point in the narrative of Crestwood. The town, shaped by the trials of the past, now stood on the threshold of a collective awakening. The heartrending reunion of Emily and her family became a metaphor for the town's resilience, a poignant reminder that even in the face of tragedy, the bonds of community and family could withstand the tests of time and distance. Chapter 10, The Harvest of Lessons. As the echoes of Emily's heartrending reunion lingered in the air, Crestwood found itself at a juncture of reflection and renewal. The town, scarred by the storm and the subsequent trials, now stood on the brink of a new chapter. Chapter 10, titled The Harvest of Lessons, unfolded as a narrative of introspection, growth, and the collective wisdom gained through adversity. The town square, once a backdrop for shared aspirations and community gatherings, now served as a space for a collective reckoning. The mayor, whose role had evolved from a symbol of hope to a guide through turbulent times, addressed the residents with a blend of pragmatism and optimism. The lessons learned from the recent past, though bitter, served as a catalyst for the town's transformation. For the Hammonds, the aftermath of Emily's return marked a period of familial recalibration. The farmhouse, once a bastion of unbroken dreams, now bore the scars of trials endured. John and Mary, resilient farmers who had weathered the ebb and flow of seasons, found themselves confronting a new season, one that demanded adaptability and the incorporation of hard-earned lessons. Thomas, who had grappled with regret and responsibility, underwent a personal transformation. The fragile thread of his identity, stretched to its limits, now found new strength as he embraced the challenges of rebuilding both the farm and the familial bonds that had weathered the storm. The town's youth, too, discovered a newfound resilience, having returned from the city with a deeper understanding of the value embedded in Crestwood's simplicity. The lessons harvested from the recent trials extended beyond the personal realms of families. Crestwood, as a collective entity, confronted the need for both preservation and evolution. The once fragile hope now seemed fortified, anchored in the shared commitment to rebuild not just physical structures, but the intangible essence that defined the town. The town square became a metaphorical field for the sowing of new aspirations. Community initiatives, driven by a collaborative spirit, sought to rejuvenate Crestwood's economic landscape. Sustainable practices, mindful of the delicate balance between progress and preservation, took root, emphasizing the importance of learning from the past to ensure a more resilient future. Emily, now a bridge between the urban and rural worlds, became a voice of wisdom. Her experiences in the city, though challenging, were a testament to the strength cultivated in Crestwood. The lesson she brought back, a blend of resilience, adaptability, and an appreciation for the roots that grounded her, served as a guiding light for a town navigating uncharted territories. The harvest of lessons extended to the broader community as well. The townspeople, once divided by regret and loss, now found common ground in the shared understanding that adversity could be a catalyst for growth. The fragile thread that had held the community together, though tested, had revealed its resilience, weaving a narrative of collective strength. As Crestwood embarked on the journey of reconstruction, the metaphorical fields once ravaged by the storm now bore the promise of a new harvest. The lessons learned, the importance of communal bonds, the value of adaptability, and the need for a harmonious coexistence with nature became the seeds for a future that embraced both continuity and change. Chapter 10, The Harvest of Lessons, brought the narrative full circle. Crestwood, having weathered the storms of tragedy and change, now stood as a testament to the cyclical nature of life. The harvest, not just of crops but of invaluable lessons, became the foundation upon which the town could build a future that honored its roots, while reaching toward the unexplored horizons that beckon beyond the familiar fields.